Now, it may not feel like it, but we are winning. The West is winning and is currently in a strong position going forward geopolitically. It is very clear that key adversaries like Bashar al-Assad, for instance, or Vladimir Putin, or Iran and North Korea are struggling. I mean, Assad turned to Russia for help at his weakest point in decades when he was being overthrown, and Russia's response was essentially, sorry, we're busy, we don't have the resources, we can't help. So all Putin could do was watch his proxy in Syria be overthrown, and then Russia themselves tuck their tail between their legs and flee the region. On top of that, Putin was expecting a quick victory in Ukraine, but is now bogged down in a war where the Western-backed Ukrainian forces are inflicting significant losses, something like 1,500 troop casualties per day. With over 500,000 casualties so far, Russia lacks the resources or the capacity to support Assad meaningfully, and that message was clearly sent to other Russian-supported regimes. Assad also turned to Iran, but Iran's plate is too full. Their proxies like Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Hamas are facing significant setbacks at the hands of overwhelming Western-backed Israeli support. On top of that, Iran's air defenses have been weakened, and the regime is less popular domestically than Hamas is in Palestine. So Iran was in no position to provide Assad much assistance either. When you look at what's going on with Iran and Putin and their lack of support for Assad, it's evident that they're all facing tough times. Even North Korea, which is reportedly sending troops to assist in Russia, is essentially contributing to a meat grinder with little to show for it. And that's a future video. I'll talk about what they actually are getting out of it, which is not much. In contrast, the West has demonstrated remarkable unity and strength, particularly in support of Ukraine and its counter to Iranian proxies fighting against Israel. This alliance has not only bolstered Ukraine's resistance, but has also put other adversarial regimes on notice. I'm speaking about China here. Israel, meanwhile, has played a critical role in destroying bad actors in the region while contributing to the stabilization of the Middle East over the medium and long term. Now, it may not look like in the short term, but yes, what Israel is doing is going to contribute to a longer term stability. Since October 7th, Israel has executed some of the most precise anti-terrorist operations in history, significantly weakening groups like Hezbollah and Hamas while ensuring that dangerous weapons don't end up in the wrong hands. They've killed dozens of terrorists that appeared on watch lists across the globe. Overall, when you look at the geopolitical landscape, adversaries like Putin, Assad, Kim, and Khamenei are repeatedly on their back foot dealing with disgruntled populations and flagging economies. Meanwhile, Western alliances and values are proving their strength and resilience in multiple realms. That being said, the work is not done. It's really never done. Iran is likely the most vulnerable, and their leadership faces widespread discontent at home, fueled by a struggling economy, corruption, and dissatisfaction with its strict theocratic rule. Protests, such as the one sparked by the death of Mahsa Amini, have highlighted the regime's fragility and the public's demand for change. Inside of Iran, the stomach for war with anyone, let alone Israel, is very low, with only 16% of Iranians supporting war with Israel. During a soccer match in October 8th of 2023, attempts by Iranian pro-government figures to raise the Palestinian flag were met with immediate backlash from the crowd, indicating there's a major disconnect between what the Iranian government's official policies are and the public sentiment. In Belarus, their president Lukashenko's regime has faced growing opposition since the disputed 2020 presidential election, with widespread protests and opposition from a large portion of the population. Much like Assad in Syria, Lukashenko's dependence on Russia for economic and military support makes him vulnerable if Moscow's influence further wanes due to the choices they continue to make in places like Ukraine. Were an uprising to take place there, that's an immediate and emergent situation for Putin, and he may not have the resources to effectively respond. Nonetheless, as I said before, the West is winning, and even if it takes years for us to recognize, it is something that we need to celebrate, and it is happening in real time as we live right now. This is something that we will focus on going forward, and I am confident no matter what, that the West will prevail and our values will prevail over the despots in those countries I mentioned before.